I'm Jeff Pospisil, the 10-Minute Treasurer with practical advice for improving your church's financial future. In this video, I'm going to look into the question of should the church support their local bank? So this is an issue I pop up against from time to time because I'll run into a church that has a lot in CDs or savings or a money market account with their local bank. And I come from the perspective of the United Methodist Foundation. So I'm thinking, as a chief accountant, you can make so much more money if you invest it with the United Methodist Foundation than you can with the local bank. So for the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to put myself in the perspective of the church as well as the local bank to try to figure this out. So here's what I came up with. Let's look at what I think is a fairly typical situation that a local church might face. And I do want us to look at the math. I think it's very important that we acknowledge the numbers at least. So I'm just going to start as an example with our wonderful United Methodist Church in Flanders, South Dakota. So Flanders is a community of about 2,500 people. And I don't know exactly how much money they have to invest or where they're investing it. So I'm just going to give them $100,000 to invest. And they could invest that with their local bank in a CD. So, and by the way, I have much more sympathy if you're choosing to go with a community bank or a credit union versus one of those big branch banks like Wells Fargo or US Bank or something like that. Or they can invest it with their United Methodist Foundation, in this case, the Dakota's United Methodist Foundation. And that would be invested in what is I call a Methodist mutual fund. It's actually managed by our pension group, so it's a very, very well diversified fund with lots of stocks and bonds and stuff like that. And by the way, this is if this is long-term money. So if you're a church that usually renews a CD year after year after year, and maybe you just use a little bit of it. That's the scenario we're talking about. We're not talking about, okay, we got $100,000 in money and we need to invest it for 2 years and then we need to use it to replace our roof. Don't keep it with the bank in that case. There's too much market variability to put it in the foundation if it's for 2 years or less. So let's look at the math. CD rates are running at maybe 0.5% right now. And even in recent years, you're lucky to get much more than 1%. So you might be able to get $500 to $1,000 of interest for the church off of your $100,000. What does the bank get? So I talked to an experienced banker, Lance Koth, and he said typically a bank would try to loan out about 80% of that money that they receive from the CD. So that's this case, they would be loaning out about $80,000. And at least from the bank rates that I saw, 5% seems like it's in the ballpark. So they would go ahead and be able to earn $4,000 on that money, but they would have to pay out $500 of that 4,000 to the local church. And this is before taxes, by the way. So South Dakota's government's going to take a share as well as the IRS is going to take a share of this 3,500, and the bank will have what's left over to help with their operations. Now on the United Methodist side, the average return for their growth fund is about 7.5%. So the local church, at least over a period of years, would expect to get about $7,500 of earnings off of that fund. So $7,500. And then the foundation, they get the $500 because they charge 50 basis points. So that's kind of how it works. So it almost looks like it's backwards where um, you kind of wonder who's the charity in the bank situation versus you could see obviously that the local church is the charity in the foundation situation. So that's how the math looks. If I'm a chief accountant, this is the only thing I'm considering. So, and I am a chief accountant. So some churches are going to be concerned about how their money is actually used once it's invested. So on the Methodist side, we have these long-standing social principles that we're not going to invest in alcohol, tobacco, adult entertainment, prisons, gambling, or weapons. And another thing that the Methodists do is they use their proxy voting. So they're able to use their votes to influence companies to hopefully run in a more moral manner. On the bank side, chances are the money is going to be loaned out to people locally. So it's going to go to neighbors, small businesses, farmers, that kind of thing. So, and by the way, I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy, so some of this debt might go towards, I'll say, good, better stuff, so it might be helping a business expand or maybe get off the ground or something like that. But sometimes it's also might be a loan to somebody that's digging them into a hole. So that's the Dave Ramsey part of me coming out. Okay, it's going towards loans, and I don't see loans as necessarily always positive unless it's maybe for a mortgage. So that's how your money would be typically used. Let's imagine that your church has a blank slate, that you don't have your money invested anywhere, that instead what you do have is a line item in your budget to bless the community. And you have $3,500 in that line item to do that. And you very well may decide that, the local bank, they're they're on the verge of not being able to make it financially, so we need to just cut them a check for that $3,500. And by the way, you'd also encourage your congregation to support them through their business as well. So that very well may be the right decision. Um, Part of the reason I use Flandre United Methodist Church is I know that they try to bless their community in a number of different ways. And these pictures just kind of show that. And chances are they very well might do something to bless their community with that $3,500 or a part of that. But chances are they would also do a number of other things too. So if they had a blank slate, bank may benefit from some of it, but not the majority of it at least. And it's almost worse than just $3,500 because it's almost like you have $7,000 in that line item and you're withdrawing $3,500 of that in cash and you're burning it, and then you give a check to $3,500 to the bank. So that's almost what it feels like for me when I look at the numbers. I want to leave you with three questions that I think are important, not only in this discussion on where to invest your money, but really when you're facing any tough financial decision. And so the first one is it pleasing to Jesus? So we are stewards of God's money. So God is the owner. So are we managing the money in a way that will make Jesus happy? The second one is it loving to community? So we're to love our neighbors. We're supposed to be a blessing to our community. So are we blessing the community in how we are using our money? And the third one is it furthering the purpose of the church? You know, everybody else has their own agenda, and they're not worried about the church's purpose necessarily. But we're the only ones that could do our job in our community. So if we don't do it, nobody else will do it. So is it furthering the purpose of the church? Hopefully this has helped. And again, this is a ministry of the Dakotas United Methodist Foundation, as well as the finance office of the Dakotas United Methodist Church. You can always find more of our stuff online at dakotasumc.org. And if this was helpful, leave a comment, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. God bless you.